and great for the people of Dickenson County. God help us to have wisdom and do the right thing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. Item number 2 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Hard to believe it's been more than a year since we've met. Are there any questions about the minutes or comments? I would note for the record, Madam Clerk, that we have all members present. Mr. Maddox, the VDOT representative, Mr. Blevins, and Mr. Newberry, and myself are present, along with Mr. Barton, County Administrator. Are there any questions about the minutes from the committee?
I don't have any.
I know, Mr. Blevins, you weren't at this meeting, so I guess you don't have any, obviously, recollection of what was said or done.
Oh, I read through them, just to kind of get an idea of what's going on.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. That takes us to item number 3, guardrail requests. Mr. Barton, you want to facilitate that?
Mr. Chair, I've not received any requests that were submitted to me, so
I haven't either. I guess, Joey, obviously the question on my mind is the Pound River guardrail project that has been funded for 2 years.
Yeah,
What's the status of that?
so we do have a contract to be able to do that. We have had increases in prices. Obviously, there's been we've been dealing with that in a lot of aspects, the pavement, guardrail, everything, you name it, prices have increased on materials and labor. So we can issue that out. There's a couple of things with that. So we did have a couple of slide repairs that had to be performed on 631 to widen the shoulder enough to accommodate guardrail.
Which that's been done, right? Part of that's been
We've
done?
had part of them done. We do have, and we had enough funding to be able to accomplish, we did 2 repairs there already.
Yeah.
There's a third in that section that still needs to be completed. So that's the last one that we would need in order to do the whole run of guardrail. So that's what we would, in order to fund that project and complete it, which if we can get additional funding, we would be able to do that.
So the money that we appropriated from this committee just went for the guardrail only, not the enhancement to add the guardrail?
Yeah.
Are can we do that? Add the money for the enhancement through this
Not
money?
to enhance it.
Or, I mean-
it's to restore the shoulder, basically.
But I mean, without the shoulder, we can't do the
Can't do
guardrail.
Correct.
So there's one more shoulder area that's got to be done?
Yeah.
And that hasn't been funded?
No.
It's not been funded.
That was found after when GSI went out to do the first 2, they found, after we had gotten the funding the last time, they found this additional location that needed to get done.
Where's that located at? Do you, either one of y'all know?
I know it's the intersection, right, that's the one that didn't get done.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Route 630.
It's 631.
Yeah, where that comes down, and there's that one section of guardrail by the intersection, that's the area that needs to get.
Okay, right there at
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
Fairview comes off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were 2 other ones that were done.
So
that
we're-
one still remains, but
And I don't want to keep kicking a dead horse, but it's just been very frustrating that, this is our money. We've appropriated it to VDOT for the install, and it just seems like we can't.
yeah, well, and the problem
It's
that
been
we-
2 years we've been kicking this can down the road.
the problem that we've been having with guardrail is just trying to get a contractor out there. We actually only have one, we still only have one contractor for the entire Bristol district doing guardrail.
So from Whitfield down,
Yeah.
and then the interstate, and that takes priority.
Yeah, so if they've got them out there doing repairs on the interstate or new installs on the interstate, we're basically just stuck. We don't have a contractor to do that work.
So it's not just that particular project, so any guardrail project.
Yeah.
Well, that
Because we
that
have-
third,
And I don't know if you've seen, like, you can go around to several different areas, and see, we've got guardrail hit repairs that we need to do in a lot of places that they just haven't been able to get to. So we're trying to work with that. It's a frustrating situation for us, and, you know, it's really something at the residency that we've even looked at trying to, and I think hopefully in the future we'll be able to do this, but we're looking at trying to do a specialty crew to where we can use state forces to start doing some of this work.
So what,
That's gonna take a little longer to get in place.
I'm trying to be just as cordial about it as I can be. I'm a citizen and I'm asking VDOT, why can't we get the guardrail on Pound River? What is the answer? Because I don't know what to tell people
That's
anymore.
one of them.
Because I told them I voted to fund the money
The
and
other
it's
thing-
been 2 years.
Yeah.
And
And the
I'm
other
very
thing is
frustrated with it.
We don't want to get the cart before the horse, so to speak, but, because the other thing was, we are paving in that area, we're doing.
Well, y'all been saying that for a year and a half too.
Yeah, it's on this year's paving schedule, correct?
So when is that gonna happen?
This year, and so.
Like
that's part
when
of-
though? Like a month, or you got a month?
I do not have control of what the contractor's timeframe is. It is on their contract for this year, but we cannot dictate when they will do that.
Mr. Peters has got a question.
Sure.
I got a question because, I know I brought this up previously last term, and I addressed it with the county administrator. But the big thing, what I'm hearing going on here, we appropriate extra money for guardrail, didn't we?
Well, no,
And wasn't it for all the county and different inputs were provided from the supervisors? Because it almost sounds like you're using the money to fix existing guardrail problems.
No.
That really should, I just wanna make sure, cause that money, did we not appropriate money that was for new guardrail, like Pound River, and I have Steve's branch. The other question I was gonna ask is, I noticed when they did the guardrail to the highway going out to Clinchco,
Mhm.
I noticed, and I'm sure I'm ignorant on what this is about, but I'm trying to find out why did we have to have guardrail on the side that's on the railroad track side, cause where's the car gonna go? Into the railroad bank, is that really cause we have serious safety issues throughout the county. And maybe the answer is you're trying to protect them from hitting the bridge, I don't know.
That project was an HSIP project that Traffic Engineering in Bristol developed, so it was utilizing federal dollars.
No, but you see what I'm saying, cause that just didn't seem
When
like
you
an
use it,
area
put
that
it
you have to
somewhere.
have guardrail,
That's
because
the
they're not
answer.
in danger of going over a bank into the river on that side of the highway, they're in danger of going into the railroad bed.
Yeah, I can't speak to how they determine, I mean, they do whenever they do any of these safety projects, they assess it to determine if there's like something, a hazard in the clear zone and the need for guardrail as part of that, so.
But that's just what I was gonna
Yeah.
comment, but I wanted to make sure, cause you guys were asking, I know I've talked to the county administrator about Steve's branch. And me and you've talked about it several years ago.
hey Joey,
We got it throughout the county, I'm not trying to say that's a special thing, cause there's problems all through with these hills.
And that's where, like, and Brush Creek was the start of that. That was the first project where we did away with a countywide guardrail, and it was specific requests. So that was what we did with that one, was we had a new install, we were looking specifically at the project. And the reason that, and those slides are a good example of that, is because sometimes there's additional work that needs to be completed. We can't just put guardrail up.
I understand that, right.
And
I
so,
know.
yeah, and so that's where we need, it's best if we allocate those as specific, so like Steve.
But we
Branch-
did do specific requests for Steve Branch a while ago, and I brought it up again when this started
I-
with this new money, and that's why I'm
Okay.
asking. No, I didn't address it to you, Joey.
Right. Well, yeah, and I guess that's what I want to make sure that we do is any requests, we can go out and assess it and say, here's what has to happen, and we can put a good estimate on it. And that's what we did with Brush Creek. So,
But looking back, and I'm not gonna let it go. I don't wanna bore everybody, and I know I was late and everybody's probably aggravated with me, but if you look back at September 29th is when we approved, I believe, the 300,000, okay? Then you look back in May of 21, Mr. Maddox and I, we were in dialogue about it. And then here we are in June of 22, and there's nothing. So what's the point in us of even doing a new guardrail
we
proposal if the one we done 2 years ago is not even, and it's from the sound of what you're saying, it's not even close. If you're saying there's got to be more shoulder rehab, we will literally have been 3 years after we voted to give the money for the project. And I mean, I don't understand what more we can do. What can I do to get it done? What more can we do other than have the money? I mean,
Just allocating the money to get that last shoulder repair done, and then getting the guardrail contractor to come out and install it. I mean, once that section is done, then we'll have, I mean, everything else there is great, and we'll have the required.
so do we need to have, is there any more money that's necessary here, or?
yes.
Yeah, for that third slide, correct?
Yes.
The last
So-
estimate I got on it was roughly
6,000.
56,000, but that was before they were supposed to have a 27% price increase in July, so,
So do we need to appropriate that here today, or?
I mean, I would have to get an updated proposal.
Go ahead, Ron.
But
Wasn't
Yeah,
it
that-
300,000 we allocated for this, Josh? Back.
The
In
300,000
September of 20.
The 300,000 was
And I want to clarify,
refunded.
it wasn't
That was
$300,000 for one guardrail project, because each of the 5 supervisors thought there would be the opportunity to get guardrail and other places. I'm not trying to take away from Pound. Pound needs to be done.
I agree with you, and that's where I've been sort of confused since my participation on this committee is you have guardrail, everybody else has guardrail, but apparently we can't get guardrail. Even if we know we got the money, we're flush with cash in this committee, but it doesn't sound like it even matters if we can't get it done. I mean, we've got more money in this fund than we've had.
Well,
In
with,
how
with
many
Paul
years?
and Joey here, and your name was what?
Wade Belcher.
Wade, what do we need to do to move this thing along? That's the question.
Right. So, as I started to say earlier, with Route 631 Brush Creek, to accomplish that project, with the increase, we're probably looking at, what, 75,000?
Yeah, 80,000 probably to, I don't know exactly what the price increase is gonna
Right.
be, so I
I
need to
understand
update
that.
a proposal, but we're talking, 80,000 probably.
And that frustrates me more to know that we approved this 2 years ago, and here we've let 2 years of inflation take away $75,000 from other stuff, from other projects. But anyway, whatever. I don't, like Mr. Newberry said, I just want to get it done.
But that's the question. What do we need to do to move this thing along, to get this thing done?
To complete that project, and like I said, we can do that this year with GSI. The time frame to complete that slide repair would not be very long. It would probably be a month.
I could get them in there within a few weeks to fix that.
Yeah. So what would need to happen would be, to complete that project, we need probably an additional $100,000, and that's to do the slide and the increase in the guardrail cost. Because the increase in the guardrail was roughly $30,000. The increase to that slide will be around 75, so probably 105.
So Joe, let me make sure that last year we done 100,000. We paid, there was 300,000 originally that Mr. Evans referred to.
Right.
With everything that happened, that got refunded back. And then in last year's plan, we had $100,000 for the guardrail project, and we paid that, so you've got that money.
Yes.
And so in this plan, we need to put another $100,000 to finish that project, and then whatever additional funds we need for guardrail around the county, like Ron was talking about Steve's branch, any other areas that we may have. So we probably need to look at $100,000 appropriation plus another appropriation for additional guardrail throughout the county. Is that correct?
And what I would suggest is if you want to earmark a certain amount for guardrail, you could do that, but then we need to get what specific locations you want with that so that we can put a full, because you could put a dollar amount in it, but we don't know how much those are going to be until.
Right,
we
what
actually
the
go
estimates
out.
will come in.
Yeah, and we use our current contract to determine what the cost will be.
I'm just curious, if I may. You're right, we can, and I've done it in the past, but we didn't have no money for it. Identify areas we need it, but what do you guys do to look at the landscape to see where there's needs too? Because you guys have to deal with these road issues. When when an accident happens, citizens. Because I also would think you guys would have some kind of list that you guys would have where these safety needs are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There should be a combined thing going on here, is what I'm asking.
VDOT takes a very systemic approach to the, like, guardrail and safety, and that's where, like, 83, all the shoulder project there as an HSIP project is, they look at it a lot from a bigger picture sort of standpoint, so they're trying to leverage as much as they can with federal dollars to do those projects, and that focus is going to be mainly on primary routes and stuff. That, I think a lot of what you get from the requests that come to this committee are for secondary roads and things like that, where we may not have an ability to fund a guardrail project, just because from our perspective and from VDOT's, it's hard to warrant the cost if there's not a really strong need. Now, 631 was one where there's been a couple fatalities and stuff, and that's where we're trying to actually pursue some high-risk rural roads funding, which is federal, to try to do more on past this first section with some federal dollars, but we haven't gotten those yet. So.
So Joey, do you recommend that we, I know you have to evaluate once these requests come in, but in today's meeting, for the purpose of the projects that we're allocating, how much would you recommend for additional guardrail that we look at? If we put 100,000 in for Pound River,
Right.
should we put another 100,000 for additional guardrail, or do we need more? I know we don't know what those areas are right now.
There was, see, we did have a previous one on Route 83. That basically along the river there, that's been a previous one. We had it at around $50,000 is about what it's going to be. So that's one request. I don't know how much we need to assess the Steve's Branch one to determine.
And that's just one where the citizen complained numerous times over the last 6 years. But I'm sure there's others. I'm not trying to drive at a specific point. There's throughout, I know the other supervisors have.
Mr. Chairman, are we gonna have to make a motion to do these separate, or?
Well, that's what I don't have a copy of the resolution we're gonna even propose today. Do you have the?
I have a draft here that we're gonna have to, as we work on this, then we'll piece it together and we'll print it and get y'all a copy of it here as we work on the projects, because right now.
Okay, so as we're working through
As we
this,
go, I've got it
literally
pulled
as
up
we
here, and I'm
speak.
working it as we go, so.
Have you all looked at the Steve Branch one Mr. Peters is asking about?
I haven't, I don't know that I've been.
I think he did a preliminary last term, but I don't know.
We'll
At
have
that
to
time, there
assess
was
it.
no funding allocated.
So I guess what we're going to do here today, subject to the vote of the committee, is appropriate, like Mr. Barton said, the additional 100 toward the 631 project that was previously voted on.
Got that down. And then how much
Appropriate
money?
an additional 100 for miscellaneous guardrail projects. I mean, which we could do more.
There'd be no earmarking on that.
Yeah, it would, but I think what, and this is up to them, because they're the one, but what happened to the 100,000 we appropriated last year for like general guardrail projects? Do we even know if any of that's been spent, or, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think there was. I think the 100,000 was specifically to 631.
Okay, all right, I thought we did, all
Yeah.
right.
But that's
Well, like
where-
Mr. I want to see Mr. Peters' concerns get
Yeah.
looked, I mean, you know.
Right. And that's what I would recommend would be, you could, what we would want to do is, you can make the appropriation in your plan, but then I would recommend between now and a fall meeting or a summer meeting, or whenever you all want to reconvene, go ahead and get us those requests.
A lot of the requests.
Yeah,
Well,
and
here-
then that way we can come back and make specific projects.
Given
'Cause
what,
that's the problem that we encountered before, was it got, we had problems trying to go through our contracting mechanisms, doing this, kind of various route sort of thing. So we have to have specific task orders, and that's where, once we identify those and put estimates on it, then we can go ahead and do that and then bill for specific projects. So it'll be kind of a two-step process.
Well,
But
here's
you
what
can
I wanna
appropriate it,
suggest.
Identify it, and then go ahead and actually fund those specific ones out of that appropriation.
and Ron can educate me if this is how it's been done prior, but this is how I've been wanting to do this, and maybe it's just a lack of understanding, obviously, maybe somewhat, but for our annual plan, my suggestion is to do the 100,000 specific for 631. And given the inflation that he's discussing and all the issues, I would suggest doing 250,000 for miscellaneous guardrail projects. Let's set another firm meeting date before we leave here.
I agree on that. Let's do a fall meeting. Let's get it
And
nailed
then-
down.
Well, we could maybe go ahead and have Steve's branch on there for that 250 pot, and get our other members and see whatever they might want.
Yeah, definitely.
And then maybe when we come back in the fall, if nothing's been done in the meantime, we could maybe specifically vote on, well, Steve branch number 1 out of the 250, or wherever's number 2.
And then the good thing with that is that allows us to go out and look at those roads.
And come back with a
and
report.
say, that's a good location, but there's a $200,000 slide project that needs to get done first. So
Okay.
let's skip that for now and go, to these other ones and just use the money as we.
But it
can.
sounds like 100, that'd just be pointless. We need to, I would say 250 minimum. I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I agree. You
I mean, we're
don't-
just
you don't-
wasting time with
A
the
100,000
100,000.
would only, that would maybe get you
6 foot.
2,500 linear feet of guardrail.
Well,
Go ahead, Ron.
if we could, go ahead, Ron, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say now, and this is your guys' job, because you're the committee, you're gonna get inundated with requests. Just so you know, I think you know that. So it's gotta be, you're gonna have to go through and weed through them.
That's fine for us. I mean, we
Yeah.
need to look at this stuff anyway. so.
Because you don't have to go very far to see where there's a curve coming down the mountain that
Oh, yeah.
needs
It
to be
doesn't have
covered,
it.
and that's gonna happen.
But I guess my thing, the way I would look at it as a voting member or whatever, and knowing sort of how the supervisors have to, if you've been dealing with this Steve's branch for a long time, to me, that's going to go up to the top of the list.
I bet you I had 5 requests from the folks on that road over time.
Well, you're still gonna have to deal with them,
Oh, yeah.
basically, I mean, from a committee standpoint, one at a time. And,
Yeah,
and so
evaluate
my
them.
suggestion is, we've been working on the Brush Creek project for a pretty good while. And if you can get a contractor in there within just a few weeks, I would say get enough money and put that out and let them do that, and then get this Brush Creek project out of here.
Done.
I mean, that's my suggestion.
Should we do more than 100 on the specifically for 631, just to go ahead and be done, and that way you got,
So the way the billing process works with that is you can allocate 100,000 if, say for instance, that it came in 5,000 over that, then we would do a final billing to the county, and it could come out of the reserves, or it could be how, of the coal committee money. You could do that way, or if you wanted to go ahead and do a larger amount, but then we may end up just refunding a balance at the end. So it really, it doesn't, it's not gonna make too big of a difference one way or the other. I think 105 is a pretty close estimate of what we expect that to cost.
so I guess, Larry, as a part of our annual plan, if you want to put 105
105 in
for
that.
631 and 250 for miscellaneous. I know we're kind of hopping around here. I think we took care of number 5. Is there anything else, Ron, you wanted to? On our agenda, we've got open discussion from like board members or whatever, so I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to talk about or on any of this.
Me?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were looking at Joe. I do, yeah, there is something. And you're not gonna like it because it's a money thing too. But here's the thing I would like to find out. When you go to some of these places that are growing and they build up a new neighborhood, they have to plan a road to go in there, right? And someone has to take on responsibility for the road. One of our biggest problems in our county is the loss of population. And we know that's driven by other things like jobs and stuff like that. What is our plan for that? Because we have established neighborhoods that don't have a maintained engineered road. And I know the money's not there, but what I'm trying to say is it's not just guardrail. What do you do in that situation? Because we have folks that are 10 or more families on a road that is caving in on them, and there's no plan or no way to fix it. Because we're limited as supervisors what we can throw money at. And I know that's a bigger thing that you can crack today, but I mean, I would like to know what is the process, because I seen one road in the 6 years I've been on this get pulled in by VDOT. That was Rita Lane. And it had something to do with being a subdivision. What is our plan to fix some of this? Because some of these are big neighborhoods and they don't have anything. So I know we can't put a road everywhere a person goes up the mountain and puts a home place. But when it becomes bigger than just one home, it's 10 families that are isolated and getting ready to lose the road, what do we do? 'Cause I welcome lanes that for me. You know, I mean, a few years ago, I tried to get, well, why don't we see if we can at least pave Rocky Gap Holler? It's already state-owned and maintained. It's just never been paved. Never heard anything. I get requests from Sycamore. They're wanting to have their road paved. And I know that you guys got a lot on your plate. I'm not trying, but I'm just speaking what I know. I know Shelby, Rhonda, and Peggy, I'm sure, have similar issues. And Josh as well. What do we do to plan a future for these neighborhoods and stuff? And where do we? Because that one night, Welcome Lane, there's 2 ambulatory families up on the top of the hill, and that we did and I'll just to share with you, we did do it. This was outlawed right after it. We did a $7,000 fix on that road. The county did, and we can no longer do that. The first rainstorm, that fix was good, still good today. Started breaking off on both sides, and I've got to figure out a way to fix it. At another road that recently I got fixed, I know Shelby had a similar one, Keith Ridge. This one was on Loop Circle. The road fell in. Guy he didn't have mail delivered for 4 years. It took that long for me to add some changes that we addressed to get the money together to fix that. That one's fixed now, but I've got this Welcome Lane's going again. And I just wanted to share that with you. I want to know the process, if there is one, because of all this infrastructure money coming down from Congress. Is there any way we can funnel some of that towards some of this? Because we want to keep the people we have. We'd like to see some of these people that are moving in feel like they're moving into a neighborhood that they can expect to have services.
Perhaps you guys know that, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know the
I've
answer
been
to that.
asking For a while.
I mean, there is a rural addition process for, and that works for certain, you know, certain instances, if there's been an established public right-of-way over a certain period of time, then you can bring those in. There's specific criteria, just like if you're wanting to bring something to the state system, it's typically either gonna be rural addition, which has certain, like I said, certain criteria that have to be met for it to qualify for that, or SSAR, which is their secondary street acceptance requirements, and that's how Rita's Lane was brought in.
We need to have those procedures, because they're not common knowledge even to the board members. And it just stands to reason. You go up Kingsport and they're building new neighborhoods. They're building roads that go into those neighborhoods and they get picked up by there. I know it happens in Virginia too, because I was in a neighborhood in Williamsburg that it had roads and
And typically, like for VDOT, we usually see that brought in, it will be the developer who submits through that SSAR process, but that's usually it's on the burden of the developer to pay for that, construct it to VDOT standards, and go through that process, to get it.
Okay, and that's good to know, because
Right.
I'm hearing things I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, and I don't know, with the county, is there a
Subdivision ordinance, I
subdivision
think,
ordinance?
requires that, doesn't it, Larry?
Yeah.
Our subdivision ordinance requires.
Yeah, but we don't do a lot of subdivisions, do we?
I think we've done one since it was enacted.
Yeah.
Not over two,
Right.
think.
Yeah, and that's what I thought.
And that's to try to keep the problem you're talking about from growing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, 'cause
people building without putting adequate
And,
infrastructure.
and I understand that concern, because a lot of these are people that they log the property and then they decide to build a house on top of the log, you know, and then pretty soon the rest of the family moves on that road and they get exasperated. We would, if you could get us those processes, we need to know about that. Not saying it's gonna fix it, because you're right,
At
there's,
least you know what you're looking at.
Yeah. and we can at least communicate that to the citizens. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
And I just want to add one more thing, just for the open discussion kind of stuff. And, you know, I started down here in March of 2020, so I'm not referencing anything that happened prior to me being here. But since I've been here and since we've been looking at things, we have made Dickenson County, along with the other four, but Dickenson County in particular, a focus of getting work done. And there's a lot out there. That goes without saying. And you know, you can get into conversations like this where there's issues that we have to get through to get things done. But if you do look around, I think you'll see some of the things we've done. And as an example, this fiscal year that ends next Thursday, from March until last week, we had to close everything up by June 22nd. Through extra funds from the district, we were able to put in extra, beyond our maintenance budget, we were able to put an extra $2 million of work into Dickenson County through slide repairs and things like that. So we're doing everything we can to fix issues that probably should have been taken care of a while ago. We're out there, we're finding a lot more projects. GSI did a whole bunch of slide work for us all over the county. And that saves us from losing a road or having to shut a road down for something, all these storms. So we know there's work that needs to get done. We're allocating and putting as much resources as we can to those, and we will continue to do. It's a long process, but we are putting as any extra money we can squirrel away for projects that we see, we're doing that. So it's, you know, we'll eventually get out of this hole and get to a point where we can stay on the routine maintenance kind of thing. But, you know, we have sunk extra money in to get these bigger things done that, you know, should have or could have been done in the past and weren't. But we're identifying those now, we're being proactive in everything we're looking at. We're being proactive in getting out and riding the roads. And if it seems like, you know, things aren't getting done, a part of that is the volume of things that need to get done. And we're trying to prioritize that and trying to put our money towards that as best we can. So I just want you all to know that we're doing everything.
And I want to thank you, because I have seen it. I appreciate it, because I have good examples coming into town here.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
So we're,
You know,
we're
we're very grateful for
we're
everything
trying.
that you all do. We've
Yeah.
seen, you know, GSI all over the county
Yeah.
fixing those
Yeah.
areas, you know, and some of them aren't a problem yet, but like you said, you know, it's gonna be a future road that you're gonna lose and cost a lot more to fix. So, you know, when you can be proactive, you know, we appreciate everything y'all are doing.
So we're
on
really
that.
putting an effort out there. Wade and Joey, as they drive around, the area headquarters folks, I mean, you know, simple things we've done, like we don't put galvanized pipe in anymore because it doesn't last. We put plastic pipe in, or concrete if we need to. We did a concrete project on, what was that road? You know?
We did it out there towards Hayside.
Yeah, it was oval, we put oval concrete pipe in. That, we'll have to touch that again, you know, for forever practically. So we're making smart decisions as well. We're not just going in and haphazardly fixing something. We're trying to fix it so we don't have to go back. So,
And that's the reason I talked about all that other stuff, because
Yeah.
we're handicapped, and all we can do is Band-Aid that really the next rainstorm has happened again. But I did forget something. Spearhead, I mentioned getting ATV access. What can we do as a county? I know we can reach out to Spearhead, but Quintwood's asking for it because they want to expand the trail down here. I know I've asked for years to do it. Didn't know who to talk to, so I'll confess that. But I wanted to expand down to the E&S grocery so that these riders come here, it's a tourism thing for it. They want to be able to ride their four-wheeler to the grocery store. E&S grocery is outside the Hayside town. That's the only real grocery store down there, other than Dallas. But Quintwood expressed some concerns to me here recently because they want to see the same. And I'm sure other communities do. But we need, if there's something that this committee or the board of supervisors need to do to get that going, I would appreciate it too.
look at what we can spur to get some conversation going.
Mr. Chair, if we're still in open discussion, I have a concern from another supervisor. If I'm
Yes.
not, Ms. Kaiser had shared with me, here, she submitted a request last year for a citizen for a guardrail to be extended toward his house for property protection on Luck Creek Road.
Lick
And
Creek Road.
it may be Lick Creek Road, and a citizen on Frying Pan for one also for protection of their property. She's going to revisit those and get the names for us, and I'll provide those as soon as I get them. And also, she mentioned McClure. There's some guardrail that needs to be replaced from an accident. I'm sure, as you mentioned before, y'all are still trying to get to those that need repaired. So
I think what we need to going back a little bit, let's set a firm, probably late September date to come back
I
here.
think while we're all here and everybody's got their
Yeah.
calendars, let's set a date here to come back, and we'll have all this information. Of course, as we get it, we'll share it with Joey
Yeah.
so that they can hopefully look at it and see feasibility and potential prices.
You mentioned the one damage. Is there any avenue for you guys to go after the insurance company for the vehicle?
We do, but like anytime that we have information for insurance, we bill the insurance company and
I thought there was.
yeah, they, that's part of our process. Unfortunately, we do get a lot of phantom hits that we
You
don't
don't
have.
know.
Yeah, and we don't have any
No
way
one
to
caught
bill,
it.
but,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, well, if it's pleasing to the committee, I think we'll move on maybe to item 4, and I'm sure maybe Larry or Lehman want to elaborate a little bit on what.
I'll
the
open
request
up
is.
and then hand it over to Lehman. Of course,
Okay.
we tried to share some background with some of the members on this project. You know, we're working on an economic development project right now on Red Onion at the former chip mill property. And with that, the chip mill road, of course, is not a state-maintained road. It's been a coal haul road for decades. It's a good base, it's a good road, things like that. But we're putting a development project, a rehabilitation project on that road, just a little piece down there. Is it 1,000 feet or something, Lehman? It's not very far down where we're going. And what we're looking at is we're looking to develop that whole area. We've got about 450 acres on that side of the road. We've written for a grant right now to rehabilitate the former chip mill property at the main end of that road. And of course, there's several developable areas along the way that we're looking to do. So our goal, somewhat like we were talking about with the subdivisions, and Ron mentioned, we're hoping that we can build this road in segments up to VDOT standards as we go along, and hope that, once we're complete, that we could approach you all and get that taken into the system, whatever we have to do, whatever steps we have to do for that. But we're looking at right now, again, with rising costs with our project right now and stuff, we're looking at the total cost of this being, around $300,000, being conservative on that, to bring that road from where you turn off of the road to the prison on a chip mill road just to our property where it would exit off to the rehabilitation project that we're working on for economic development. Lehman, I think you've got a map actually and some more information that you want to share, but I just want to give some background on the project.
Hard to describe a project, sometimes it's better to look at the picture.
So I guess technically this is really a non-VDOT issue. I mean, we want it to become a
We want to
VDOT
become
issue.
VDOT, and we want to
Yeah.
make sure as we do this, that we build everything according to your standards and whatever
Right.
necessary inspections would need to be made and stuff. That way there's no issues.
Yeah, and this one, as I was talking about the SSAR, that would be the process that this would come in. There would be there's two means of getting, something that's like an economic development sort of thing. There's the Access Roads program, which would, or not, the Economic Development Access Roads program is one avenue, but an entity that's coming in through it has to meet certain criteria. The timeline, I know that Lehman's kind of discussed with me, is probably gonna be much faster than what you could go through that program to do it. So SSAR would probably be the avenue that you want to, and with SSAR, it's based on you could put it in to meet VDOT standards, and we actually review it and everything now. It may not come into the system until such time that it's determined that it meets a public benefit, and there's certain criteria that say whether, we've got guidelines that say, like you have to have at least 3 residents on the road, or it has to serve, these other different public benefits. So at the time that occurs and it's occupied, then if it's gone through the SSAR process, we can accept it into the system that way. And Rita's Lane was another example
Right,
of where
how that was used.
happened. Yeah.
So Lehman, I'm assuming you know what VDOT standards will be, or do we need information from them on how we need to do this? To make sure it meet the SSAR protocol?
And I don't think it'd be an issue here, Josh. Joey and I have talked.
Okay, I figured you were intimately aware.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna basically do this around a 60-foot wide right-of-way, which we think will be, very adequate. And I assume, Joey, we'd have to give you the geometrics.
Yeah, we would need to review the plans.
Yeah.
Make sure, we'll do a phase, like we did with Rita's Lane, we would do a phased inspection. So that would, basically, we would be out there to see that it's being built and meets what has been done by the engineer, what they put in the plans, so.
And I'll have to say, I thought the Reader's Lane project was a very good project. It went very smooth, and when the contractor was done, we were done because VDOT was involved all the way through. Plus, I think it's less expense on our side if VDOT does it instead of a third-party consultant.
Yeah.
So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, a lot of it is just making sure that we've got those conversations going on early in the process so we can plan a certain path, because that's the times I've seen things go kind of wrong, is if we've already started down one road and we're like, oh, we can't do it that way, so it's not going to be able to get accepted in. So if we did work together early, it helps to get that done. But yeah, from what we've talked about, I don't really see any issues with what's proposed with that.
Just for the record and for the public's information, our economic development team and our board has worked and is working extremely hard on this project. This red onion in this specific project is critical to our county's future, and so we've got to appropriate this money as a committee and keep this thing moving. I mean, Larry, is there anything you want to elaborate more on this? I mean, this,
No,
we've
like
been
you
2
said, I
years
think
on this trying to close this deal here.
we have, and we're working on it. You know, everything is moving on. We got a lot of parallel paths we're working right now with this. You know, with utilities, with the buildings, with the site work, and that's why we wanted to approach y'all at this meeting, is to share the information ahead of time so that we could answer any questions you have. But like Josh said, it is very critical to the future of the county, to the future economic development of the county. And this will be the first location in that park, and we hope that after we get that other things are going to be on the heels of that we're going to be working. So
We're wanting to put the money into this, our resolution today, right?
yes. We were asking for Lehman's estimate $300,000. What we were asking for, up to $300,000.
Based on the numbers we've got right now, which, you know,
To me, it's a no-brainer. I mean,
Yeah.
we're really blessed to have the money to be able to do it. I
We
mean,
are.
This is what we need.
It helps take some pressure off our
Yeah.
budget that we're working with on the other projects. So
Y'all have any questions about this?
No, I've already
Paul?
reviewed it a little bit.
It's great. It's really good.
Anything else you want to say, Ron, about it?
No, I think we've gotta have it. And this is just the first step, because it's gonna, at some point, we were hopeful, I'll be dead, Coalfield Expressway, because that's our life, that's what's killing our county. We don't have any transportation. We lost the 1,500 jobs last year because of that. They went to Whitfield.
Right.
Yep.
you might got any questions for Lehman or for me
No,
on that?
No, I think
I can't wait to
Done a
see
good
it
job.
start.
thorough.
let's get it done, then we can say that.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, let's,
Thank you all.
thank you, Lehman. Well, that takes us, I guess, Larry.
One thing I do have, how much money is in the fund?
Well, that's right.
Right now, as far as in the coal road fund, right now, at the beginning of the year, on July 1st, we had about $12.3 million in the fund. And of course, we budgeted $2.8 million overall. You know, part of that is going out to water sewer projects with what we've spent this year. But we're going to be at the end of the year, at the end of June. Of course, I don't have the numbers at the end of June exactly where we're going to be, but I estimate in the high 15s. Well, close to 16 million is where I estimate we're going to be
You're in a powerful
at
seat.
the end of that. So, yes, so we've got.
Well, the thing about it is you want it to help the county,
Yeah.
ever what we do.
Well, it seems like, and that's kind of my frustration, is we just can't get,
Yeah.
why can't we get the shovel in the ground and get the thing done, you know?
Well,
That's our industrial.
That's the reason I was
Well,
asking.
no, yeah, right, no, but I'm talking in guardrail or whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that's what I caught when Wade said he could have these guys fixing that slide area down there and get that guardrail project really moving, because we're really close here, Sam.
And we did the
on
two
this one.
GSI projects with the money from last year, and
Yeah.
that was great, because they got
Yeah.
in there and did, that one big one really needed it. And when they got in there and started looking, I was pretty bad underneath, so.
Well, that's what I think. I mean, like I said, we have to do these things one at a time, but I mean, if we just keep plugging along and don't get frustrated, I think we'll be okay. But we just need to be diligently working on them.
As I look at this, I would encourage the county for the chip mill site to pursue that economic development access road program, because you could do that. You could leverage coal committee money if you wanted to help with that. But I would really go after those funds. Work with, it's the VEDP. They're the ones that you start with to, if you've got a potential business interested in doing that, they're the ones that will work with you on what criteria are and all of that. But that's a good way to get that one accepted into the system as part of that process.
Have you all looked, I'm sorry to interrupt you, and this is maybe broad. Have you all looked at the, where the Ag Center is road? What would be, if you know, and if you don't understand, what would be any concerns there about adopting that particular piece into the VDOT
I
system?
think we've actually talked about that one, and then we've got in the current secondary 6-year plan, we had increased the rural addition funding, so, we've got to look at that one, pull some property information and make sure that everything's good, but if we can go through that one as a rural addition, we could use those, and if we needed a balance, then that could be something that we could ask for the coal committee to, especially if you all would want to fund that as well.
Lemon, you had something on that?
Well, I was just gonna say, the property will be owned by Don McFall, one of his companies.
Yeah.
And I believe that the county has, I don't remember the width of it, but we have a right of way, up that road from 83, to get to the Ag Center.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think there was already maybe a couple property occupied properties, residents that lived on that, so it was like, I think it was going to be able to meet the public benefit. We just need to actually do that, and if the county's interested in going ahead and trying to bring that in through rural addition, we'll see if that's.
Well, I think so,
We
definitely.
definitely be interested in
And
that.
the reason I even brought it up is given the, how good we're doing. I mean, that's something that we could consider that would benefit the county. I mean, in lean times, maybe not, but if,
Right.
cause I mean, the interest rates are, I assume this is in an interest-bearing account, this 15 million. I mean, what's 1% on 15 million? I don't know, I'm just saying, this is a
Right.
time that we need to probably, if things we put off, didn't wanna do before, and I'll be honest with you, I was reluctant on that, but if we've got this amount of money, that's something we could look at, though.
And I mentioned it in the past, revenue sharing is another, opportunity that, like, if you've got specific road projects, getting those into your capital improvements plan and working with us on that, you can leverage your coal severance tax dollar for dollar with revenue sharing funds. I think this year was, let's see, where's the last? They alternate the years of revenue sharing and smart scale. So I think we're doing smart scale applications this year. So revenue sharing applications will go in next year. It takes a little while to get that funding. It's like most of ours, it's a 6-year plan sort of thing. So oftentimes if you have revenue sharing, it may be a few years out, but they did have better projections than expected, and they actually accelerated some of those that were already in the current plan. So what they expected to be funded like 5 years out ended up getting funded in 3. So the biggest thing is just putting the applications in there, having some of the plans for those. And that would be the sort of thing, like I know you all had talked a little bit earlier before the meeting about like Sandy Ridge Road and some of those. So if you had projects like that you wanted to make road, bigger road improvements where we actually need to do a full set of plans and things like that, those would be things that you could put in your capital improvements plan, and you could leverage coal severance tax dollar for dollar to do a revenue sharing project. And that's a state funded program, state dollars.
If we've talked about so far, we can add to it and make changes to it. I want to give us something to look at in front of us that we can.
Yeah.
That revenue sharing you looked at, that'd be something we need to. I mean,
Yeah.
dollar for dollar, that's pretty
Both
good.
color get a lot, yeah.
beat that.
Yeah.
One of the worst problems I see right now, I mean, I know the county's doing good, but as a business owner, I've never been so frustrated in my life. You can't get nothing done. Nobody has employees do anything. You order parts, I've had trucks sit for a month and a half waiting on one part, they had to build it. And it's just really frustrating, and you get something priced today and tomorrow it's gone up.
Struggling
You're
with
not
the
even
same
mentioning
things,
fuel.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's not even
And
mentioning
it's
fuel.
just, I can understand your guys' problems having getting anything done.
It's across the board.
It-
Every material,
everything.
or asphalt went up $3
Yeah.
a ton last month.
If you can find it, I'm wondering if guardrails even available.
Well, that's, God.
So, I can understand everybody's frustration, it's really been,
And even with us getting, when we have openings, getting a good pool to pick from, it's getting harder. and
Yeah.
harder. It really is.
Yeah, you used to have people beating down the door for a job at VDOT,
Yeah.
and now we've seen a drastic drop in the number of
yeah,
applicants.
well, I've got 5 trucks that can't find drivers for them, and I don't even have anybody looking.
Well, that's what I was about to mention, our equipment contractor last year across our 4 counties was able to provide us with 6 trucks to help.
Yeah, you just
Report
can't
can't.
find people to run them. I hope we can get some stuff accomplished, but I understand the problem with getting it done.
Well, like Paul said, we're looking at more innovative ways and things to try to do things.
Yeah.
Half the county.
Yeah.
Are you on this,
Yes.
the 100,000 for the roundabout, does that need to be?
I didn't know on that,
I
we
think
had not
where
paid
it
it,
was
it was in our plan last year, but of course, it's not been paid out, so I didn't know if we had to get in our plan this year, because it looks like it's gonna happen in this upcoming fiscal year, so
I
we
would
need to.
think we would need it in the resolution this year.
I don't, if it was already approved.
It may not be
I
necessary.
don't think it's
Okay.
needed.
But that's what I didn't
I
know
think
on
you
that,
can pay it
so
out
we can
of-
take that
It'd
one
be
out.
fine, because we done
Because it was
approved
already
it.
allocated.
Right, okay. Now, Larry, you referenced the number, so the project allocation of 2.8 million, 2.85 million.
Right.
I
That's
mean, that
what,
draws down that 15.
no, this would be coming in on top of where we're at now, that's what's gonna be coming in 22 to 23 as far as our estimates for the budget,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah,
and
so
it could
for
come
like
in
that-
higher, but.
That 1.5 million, I mean, that could really be, I know that we've got specifically 250,000 mark, now, okay, let me go back. So of the 1.5, is that including the ones that have already been in here? I wouldn't. I didn't
No,
see-
that's just looking at this current year's allocation. The new money's coming in from 22 to 23 in our current fiscal year. You know, we budgeted to take in $2.8 million, and of that, 90,000 would go to the towns,
Right.
CETA, and then, the water and sewer systems, and then the gravel funds, and that left $1.5 million to go to projects with the road committee. Of the new money, there's still the fund balance there
Right.
that we had, but.
So of the 1.5 that we're doing, the,
Really,
Bottom reference.
655 right now instead
Right.
of 755.
right, okay.
How close is the roundabout, Joey?
For the town, we just held our public hearing last night on it.
Yeah.
The developers indicated they're gonna be probably like next spring timeframe that they'll be doing construction.
Okay.
Yeah,
And will the roundabout be done simultaneous with the development?
yeah.
I'm assuming with that detour, it'll about have to be
Which is this
done
summer, but
prior to one, and as far as
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get through that.
they're doing an on-site, or it'll be an on-site detour where they're basically 83 will be kind of rerouted. Well, if you look at it now, kind of the area where the loop road that used to go in front of the high school, that'll be kind of where 83 will temporarily detour around and 8th Street to get back onto Main Street. So that's part of the plans.
that'll be a mess for a while though, but
That'd be all
progress.
right.
It said about a month.
Yeah,
We
they got a very aggressive construction schedule with it, so I
Good.
think they'll,
That's great.
yeah.
That's what I've been wanting to hear.
Yeah, but I think people will love that roundabout after they get used to it. I mean,
I am too.
yeah, I really do.
Yeah, it's, there's a lot of benefits. I know a lot of people aren't used to it, but it really does provide a lot of safety and operational benefits.
It does.
Is there any other questions about the proposed allocations and,
Does anybody have any questions, or Joey, you have any other suggested changes or anything? I just used the last year's format that you provided me with to do this one by.
So if we, I guess I'm going back to the Pound River project again, but if we allocate the money for it, it can get on, basically go pretty
We'll
quickly.
call GSI this
I'll call him as
afternoon,
soon as we can have it.
and they'll come back out, look at it one more time, and then we'll tell them when they're free. And with us just finishing up our fiscal in June 22, all the crews they had everywhere, they're sitting idle now for the most part, so they're ready for the next
Okay,
project to come.
well, good.
well, that's, I hope and pray that's right. And you do, the 631 is gonna be paved, right? You just don't know when.
Yes, yeah, it's on this year's paving schedule. But they, I don't, is it BZAC that's doing?
Pull it up if I can get some
I
internet
think
service.
I'm wanting to say it's BZAC that has their contract
Yeah, it's
here.
BZAC that's
Yeah.
got the paving
Are you,
contract. I'm sure they've been up paving on 80, I think, already.
Is the guest Wi-Fi working for you?
I haven't tried it yet.
It should be able to get it.
Well, it should on top of the next. No,
I think they've already paved
So-
604.
That's where.
There's some on 80 already.
no. To me, that 50 at the bottom then. Right.
But again, like Joey said with our guardrail.
So, and that's what I said,
We got
so
one-
this is
BZAC's kinda
encompassing
got all the
It is
paving.
part of this, okay.
So-
And then we'll have additional ones
Yeah.
that will
Yeah, a lot, I'm sure.
make
Come in and
between
make-
the
Where's
request.
where's their asphalt plant at? Where they bring it?
They got, I think they've got some in, is it their, BZAC asphalt plants like in Castlewood somewhere?
Hansonville?
I mean, they
Yeah.
kinda got them all over, they've got like that email, they've got quite a few.
One nice thing to help on some of these smaller projects too, on our side, is we invested this year with some of that extra money we had, and we bought ourselves a paver to do some paving and patching
Oh,
ourselves.
now, I think
And I
that,
tell you, we got
yes.
some good guys. I mean,
Good.
you look at some of the work we've done down in Scott and Lee County, you'd be hard pressed to
Next time, we're still working out.
find
Good.
a contractor doing it any better.
Yeah, and I've got the paper coming to Dickenson County, not next week, but the week after, and our crews will be out there and some.
Where all
paving.
these slides were done, we're gonna do the patching ourselves and all
Great.
that, so. it'd be
Great,
nice.
that's needful.
When will y'all have your new office done, you know?
So, the last I heard is they got about a 60-day extension on it. It was supposed to be done this December, so I'm thinking February, March, probably the end of it.
What are you gonna do with the old place, do you know? Or are you gonna keep, they're gonna keep it for,
So, what I would love to do is get rid of it as
Sell it.
fast as possible, however we had to. But, the way VDOT works and the way capital outlays works, when they funded
Figure out what
the building with the price increases, it did not
to do
get
some
funded for a salt storage
paving
project.
projects or something.
So for
It's gonna keep
winter,
anything
that comes
we
up
have
that
to operate
the board
out of
would
the
like to
current
see.
facility.
yeah,
We can go ahead and
For
try to get that.
probably a
within
few
those.
years,
yeah.
Yeah.
which,
So do we need to?
so I'm paying
So
for this
this
payment,
change.
No, I think that.
Two places.
Just that,
Just like this.
but that's a
yep. Yep.
internal struggle.
Plug that in there.
Well, I apologize again to everybody for being late. That's not like me. I just had it at 9:30 on my calendar instead of 9, so I'm sorry.
But you know, if nobody has any other changes, I'm gonna get an updated draft on this, because we're gonna be
Okay.
taking the $100,000 roundabout off. Then the total allocations at the bottom, I had just totaled those projects, it should actually be the $2,850,000, which matches the number at the top, the projected allocation, so. I'm gonna send this down, and what we'll need to do is, we will, approve this, and then Teresa's got a resolution that this will be plugged into that we'll, share it with you for approval.
You wanna get that before we actually vote? Do you want, I mean, I know the heart of it, or
We
it's
can.
up to you, whatever, we'll wait. We can wait.
Whatever y'all think. I mean, this one, now, I don't, if y'all know the changes, the only change we got, we're scratching out the roundabout, we're making this $2,850,000
That's what I got.
is what we're doing,
Yeah.
so, that's a good point, Josh, I mean, everybody knows what it is.
However y'all, the committee wants to do it. We can
Are
wait.
we okay with that, as far as we approve that, and then we can get the resolution signed after the meeting, everybody sign off on the actual resolution part? I think so, Josh, probably we can.
I think it's fine.
So I guess the floor will be open for a motion to approve the project allocation for the annual plan of 7/1/22 to 6/30/23, with the only modification taking out the 100,000 roundabout. Is there a motion to approve the annual plan for resolution based on those numbers presented? And did that make sense?
On the dates, now what was the dates again?
July 1st, 22
Okay.
to June 30th,
All right.
23.
I heard you differently, but,
Well, I said 7/1/22 to 6/30/22.
Okay.
What'd I say?
yeah, I don't know. You're all right. You're all right, but I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye as well. So we do have a annual plan for our coal and gas road improvement fund. Is there anything else anybody has?
Do you wanna do a September date?
Yes, I think we need to set a date right now. I think
Yes.
that's very important.
Y'all prefer Fridays, or what's good for you all? Either,
We'll work around anything.
September 23rd? That work?
Fine with me.
9 a.m., not 9:30?
Mr. I think that's good, and I'll send an email out as I do on every Friday, and I'll ask if the members can bring me a list of their concerns at this meeting coming up
Yeah.
on Tuesday. That way to give these folks more time, the quicker I can get it to you all to look at and things, you'll have data for the September meeting,
We can
so,
start going out and looking at it.
yeah. But I'll
Well,
do
you
that.
care if I get your email?
Yeah, it's, my name's actually Melvin.
Okay.
MELVYN dot Belcher, BELCHER, at VDOT.Virginia.gov.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just realized when I got over here, I didn't have any cards on me, so,
Appreciate it, thank you. Nice to meet you.
yeah. you too.
Ron, is there anything else?
Oh, no,
Well, entertain a motion to adjourn then, if everybody's ready.
Did I mention something first?
Yeah.
All this severance tax money and stuff we've got, all the small operators gone. We've got one big operator in the county that's putting this out. And over half of it, I'd say, is going across Sandy Ridge, and that is the most dangerous road I've worked on in my life. Something that's got to be done.
I'm gonna be going up there, looking at it, and seeing what we can do. What's most of the problems that you have, just narrow spots?
There's three real bad curves in it. The pavement goes out to the ditch lines. When you fall off that pavement, you're gonna turn over in somebody's yard or run through the middle of their yard.
Our sheriff was here, there's problems up there all the time.
Complaints, he's getting them. We've got two state police supervisor and another one that's trying to get us put off that road.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't hurt my feelings any to come around through Clintwood and go up 72. But Alpha is not gonna fund that extra
Fuel,
money
whatever.
to,
Let me make
it's twice as far. So
Let me make a suggestion. When you go up there, Wade, won't you give AC a call and let him go with you, and he can point out some of these areas for you?
It is
Very
bad.
We did have
helpful.
a meeting about something just totally separate, so I'll get your number and,
Okay. But it's dangerous.
Is that on y'all's radar at all up there? Cause it is, like,
I hadn't heard anything.
supervisors and our sheriff are just eat up with
Yeah.
complaints up there.
And from my understanding, some of the citizens has even written the state legislature. I don't know that for a fact, but I have been told that by a couple of people that I think would tell me the truth.
What do y'all coming out, are they coming off of Sandy Ridge and hitting 652 and going down Tom's Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And that's a bad,
a lot of the coal's coming from over at B, coming up through Hayside.
yeah.
And a
But
lot
then-
of it's coming out of Lick Creek, and they're moving coal from the Tom's Creek tipple back to the McClure tipple, and from McClure tipple back to Tom's Creek tipple. And
What was your estimate of how many trucks goes across there, Asa?
There's at least 100 trucks go, I mean, not 100, but probably at least 80 trucks. And some of them make 6 to 10 trips a day across it.
A lot of traffic.
And there's probably more, it astonished me, I'm sure they've got a traffic count on it somewhere, but to sit down at the mouth of Tom's Creek about 8 o'clock in the morning and see just the vehicle traffic.
Right, there's a lot of people live up there.
Yeah, and I believe most of Dickenson County that has to go, or
They go that way,
across that
yeah.
way because there's just so much traffic comes across there. It's beautiful. And there's nowhere that you can't get by the trucks, and these cars are passing you in curves. I can't believe somebody's not got hurt. And when they get state police to come up there, have to come and call over complaints, they write more vehicles than they do big trucks. And it just, something needs to be addressed on it for somebody. I can't believe they've not had some severe accidents so far on it.
I get complaints about it all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know what, anything y'all can do about it, I don't know.
I know one of the landowners is, acceptable to giving part of his right of way on to take one curve out. The other two, I don't know anything about them, but I do know the one landowner is,
I think Shelby's had a speed study, would that be the first place to start,
Yeah,
or?
now, we did do that, that was something recently that, we did a traffic.
she told me that, somebody, one of the troopers or somebody had requested, and I don't remember who she said she talked to at Wise, it could have been one of you all, but, that they was gonna, the next survey they wanted to do was to find out the right of way, mark the right of way, to see what they could do.
Yeah, and that's what I said, those are the sorts of things, if we've got some ideas for projects or something that you wanna do there, that would be, it'd be good to get us to look at it. Some of those, if we've gotta get survey and things like that, we may have to get L&D and those folks involved.
I don't know who she talked to at Wise, but she said they were talking about doing that, to actually come out and survey the right of ways.
Okay.
What do you suggest we do on that?
I mean, first, we need to go up there with AC and look at it.
There we
and see
go.
it, you know. Until I go up there and see the specific issues that you're wanting to address, I can't really speak to it. You know.
Is the coal truck traffic mainly during the daytime?
Yeah, we work up till 11 o'clock at night, but of the evening, from probably 5 o'clock on, there's not but 5 or 6 trucks running it. We work evening shift, but now through the day, starting probably 4 o'clock in the morning, it gets pretty busy.
I appreciate you all. We can get some stuff going, appreciate AC, Jeff. Two of my
We like me and
favorite
Pearl, we done here?
men. Two of my favorite guys. All right, motion to adjourn. See, okay, I'll take it. We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Guess I
y'all.
need to sign that.
Yeah, Teresa's going down to print the actual ordinance out, so if y'all can hang around just a minute, she'll get you signed off on it that way. I know
Yeah, we
last
all
year y'all
got
had to
signed
run
on
back.
it, yeah.
Yeah, everybody has to sign, so she's going to do that. Sorry about that, you gotta do that. Going down that road.
If you saw coal mines in Appalachia,
They got another one, but they gotta get it working.
before a long time ago, I think I worked in a mine, and I asked for a job, if you weren't hired enough.